Hello, everyone, and welcome to Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host, and I'm going to be here for this session today. And I'm super excited because we have a very important guest who's going to join us. But before that, this important disclaimer for you folks. So, by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. So, I hope that you keep that in mind. And, friends, you can also join us. We are streaming live right now on YouTube. And yes, you can also check us out on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and on Instagram, and also share this with your friends and folks out there who could benefit. So like, share, and of course subscribe to our channel. It is Immigration Talk Show. That's our handle. So yes, without further ado, please help me welcome our very esteemed guest for today, none other than attorney Charles Kuck. Hi, Charles, from the office of Kuck and Baxter.
It's great to be with you.
Always good to have you, Charles. And I love, your insights for whichever topic we discuss. And today's one is going to be an interesting one as well.
That it will, I promise. It's always interesting.
It is, it is. So, since we're going to be here for a very short while, I think I'll go right into the questions. And yeah, so I have this first one for you. If you could tell us, what are some of the most common mistakes international students make that can lead to visa problems?
Well, let's start with the very first, which is getting the visa. Uh, Many students coming from outside the United States are simply not prepared for the interview. They don't understand how the visa interview works at the consulate. They may have heard stories. Maybe they went to some guy who's outside the building, says, I can help you for $100. Understand this. When you apply for a student visa, you have to prove to the consular officer a couple of things. One, why you're going to study. What is the purpose of you not studying in your home country? What is the reason you're going to University X in Alabama in the United States? You better have a 10-second, 5-second explanation ready for that. The second thing that most students do not understand is that you have to prove to the consular officer that you intend to come back home after your interview. Home is not the United States, home is India. So you have to prove those two things. Well, how do you do that? How do you prove you're not going to stay? Well, basically, it's really hard for an 18 or 19 or 17-year-old to do this, but not impossible, obviously, because we've got hundreds of thousands of students in the United States. One, obviously, you explain why you're going to school X. Well, they offer this unique program in agriculture, and I intend, when I complete that program, to come back to India to work in that field. Specifically, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Boom. In the United States, we call this an elevator speech. An elevator speech, obviously, you know what an elevator is. You go up in a building. Well, big, tall buildings in the United States. So when somebody gets on with the floor one with you, they say, what do you do? Well, you better be able to tell that person before they get to their floor what you do. It's called an elevator speech. So you need to have prepared, memorized, that looks natural to explain why are you attending this school? I'm attending this school because of the specific program I'll be studying in. They're one of the leading universities in the United States, and it's my interest area. So when I complete my studies, I'm going to come back and work in Maharashtra state, and this is what I'm going to do. Boom. You're going to get your visa. But be prepared. Now, if they ask you, the last thing, of course, how are you going to pay for this? Well, either mom and dad are paying for it, or you have a scholarship. Again, be prepared for the basic questions so that you can get the visa, Nipasa. That's the key. You got to get the visa first before you can have problems with it. Now, one of the things, Nipasa, that we're seeing recently is a number of what's called 221G decisions. 221G is simply a section of the Immigration Nationality Act of the United States that basically says you can be denied entry, not a visa, because you don't meet the criteria. It's a 221G. You don't meet the criteria. That's not necessarily a denial. In fact, if you go to the CEAC website where your visa information is, it might say refused. Refused is not a denial. Denial is a denial. So if it says denial, you're denied. Refused means they're maybe working on it. They're working on your visa. if you get a 221G letter. So don't be surprised by that. And of course, there are those individuals whose visas were recently revoked by the administration, who were outside, who decided to leave. They believed the lie. It was a lie that you have to leave your United States. It wasn't. If your visa is revoked and you're in the United States, it doesn't mean anything. You can keep going to school. It doesn't mean anything. But they were lied to by the consulate and said, go home. So they left. Several of them have now been back to the consulate, and they don't have any reason they would deny it. I mean, their underlying basis for having been revoked is meaningless. It doesn't meet any criteria to deny visas. They have been put in 221G processing, and we don't know the answer to that yet. It's happened this week. We don't know what's going to go on. We don't know how it's going to last. But most student visa 221G cases typically are resolved in a couple of weeks, typically speaking. They're going to have to decide, is this the kind of reason they want to fight this fight? Now, of course, if you're outside the United States, you can't, once the consul denies it, they deny it. There's no appeal. All you can do is reapply if you can figure out why they denied you.
Yes, and I think that leads me to Shaikh Moli. Hi, Shaikh. Thank you so much for joining us. And you've almost answered half his question, I see. So he's saying, hello, Charles. I had a 221G refusal before, and now I'm worried about what to do when I fill out the DS 160 form for my next visa application. How should I answer questions about previous refusals?
You say yes. You answer yes. You were refused unless the visa was previously. So if you had a 221G and were issued the visa, you don't have a refusal then. Then I would say no. If you had a 221G notation and you were denied, then of course you put that information. So a 221G refusal is only effective if you actually denied the visa. If you were granted the visa, you're fine.
Okay.
Keep in mind, they
Thank
know.
you, Shaikh.
They know. They have the system in front of them. They know. So.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Charles, for taking this up. And Shaikh, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Immigration Talk Show. And folks, you can also join us on call. It's going to be a very short session. So if you want to make it here, dial this number 425-436-6335. And the access code is 988-888. Join us. So, Charles, moving on to my next question for you is this, what options do deported students have actually, and how can others avoid getting deported in the first place?
Well, you use a technical word there, deported. It's actually a word as meaning. It means you went through an immigration court process and were physically removed from the United States. If you're talking about the students who recently were told to leave, they were not deported. So it just depends on what you're specifically referring to. But if you've been physically deported, typically you have a 10-year bar. You're not coming back for 10 years. If you just left the United States because you stopped going to school, that's not deported. If you left because you got one of these crazy letters recently, that's also not deported. But you do want to say that your visa was revoked. So you reapply for a new visa. You want to say that your visa was revoked, and so you're here to reapply for that visa. And you'll probably get a 221G refusal as they decide with what they want to do. Now, we have really weird rules in the United States. Let's say you're in a student status and you just stopped going to school, you're not accruing at that point unlawful presence. So when you leave, you don't have a bar, but you do have a status violation. And honestly, a status violation is probably going to be held against you in the context of a visa application. So again, very specific, asking a kind of a generalized question about this is hard. Now, how to avoid getting deported? Don't do stupid things. I mean, if you don't do stupid things, you probably won't be deported. Almost everybody that was in our litigation recently had an arrest. Now, sometimes those arrests were illegal. One was actually an illegal arrest, but most were legitimate. You got a DUI, don't drink and drive, don't drink at all. I mean, it's the American college, but don't drink, be different. Or they were speeding, or they had a shoplifting charge. Don't steal from people. Okay, that's another reason you can avoid getting deported. And stay in school. Keep in mind, as a student, you have to maintain 12 credit hours. You can't only take one online class. One of our guys took 2 online classes. He fell out of status. One online class at a time. So be cognizant of the rules. There actually is a website, Nipasa, called studyinthestates.com. You just Google studyinthestates.com. It has a list of all the rules you have to follow. Know those rules. That's how you avoid getting deported in the first place.
Absolutely. I think it's very important to know where you're going, especially know the laws and rules that you need to follow and stay by them, abide by each and every law because there are eyes watching you and you should avoid getting deported for sure. Thank you. Thank you, Charles, for taking this up as well. And now moving on to my next question is what should a student do if they accidentally fall out of status? And is there any way to fix it?
Well, if you act, I also I don't think there's a way to accidentally fall out of status. These have to be conscious acts. You might not have known it would make you out of status, but you know, so you can ask for reinstatement within 5 months of the status being violated. Maybe you took two online classes instead of one. Maybe you failed a class. So you can ask for reinstatement. Reinstatements are granted only about 30% of the time. So the other option, and this is actually a better option, if your visa is valid, just leave the country and then come back in on a new I-20. That fixes your status. That's the fastest, easiest, quickest way to fix your status if you have a valid visa. If you don't have a valid visa, you have to get a new I-20 and then go get a new visa and come back. And of course, there's no guarantee that they'll give you a new visa if you've fallen out of status and it was something you shouldn't have done. Right? So again, very specific, why did you fall out of status question will lead you maybe to different results about how you fix that.
Right. Thank you, Charles, for taking that up again. And well, I'll say hi to Bhaskar and Alicia. Thank you so much for joining us here on our show. And I think let's take up Bhaskar's question. I've been on OPT for a while and recently got a 221G refusal while trying to renew my F-1 visa in India. I'm really stressed about this delay since I have a job lined up. What can I do?
Well, the question is, how long has it been in administrative processing? This is just 221G refusal. If it's been a couple of days, I wouldn't sweat it. If it's been 2 weeks, you might want to reach out to the consulate and say, hey, look, I have a job lined up. I want to get back to my OPT. When might I hear back? Be respectful because you can do it instantly. But this goes to my other piece of advice. You should never leave while you're on OPT. You just shouldn't. Because sometimes they can deny it, and if they want to deny it, they can deny it, and you can't appeal it. So for those of you who have not left the United States and need to get a visa in your OPT, don't leave. Donald Trump is president. Student visas are going to be much harder to get. They just are. They have an intent to reduce the number of student visa holders in the United States. It's obvious that that's happening, and we're looking at maybe a 30 to 40% drop, which will make visas harder to get, and the number of refusals or denials is skyrocket.
That's huge. That's going to make a very big difference.
I hear Germany is great this time of year. I don't know if you noticed
Well,
this, Lassa, but university in Germany is in English.
okay.
So if you don't speak German, it doesn't matter. You won't be able to order a beer, but you can still go to school.
That's interesting. But thank you, Charles, for the suggestion. And now I have this next question, which is if you can explain the impact of online or hybrid classes, on F1's visa rules post COVID
Um, well,
pandemic.
basically during COVID, you could take all online classes. That's all universities were offering. But now we're back to the rule that you can only have one full online class. You can take hybrid classes, but the full online classes at least are limited to one per semester. So just be aware of that. I think most schools realize this for foreign students, and hopefully your DSO, your foreign student advisor, is making sure you don't enroll in multiples. But again, we had a kid last week that got dinged because he'd just mistakenly done it and did not. He told me, I didn't know the rule. Know the rule. Read study in the states.dhs.gov, and you'll know the rule too.
It's very simple, and folks nowadays are so involved with their phones. All they need to do is like type in and search. So I think that step is going to be very important. I think ignorance cannot be bliss anymore. Knowledge is power. So
Exactly right.
go check
Knowledge
that
is
out for
power.
yourself. Yes. So now going on to this next question. So Charles, if you can tell us, why do so many students face issues during visa stamping or renewal interviews, especially after being in the US for years?
Well, Today, it's more of a political issue than anything else. The politics of the president determine if they want students in the United States. The Obama administration, the Bush administration, the Biden administration wanted foreign students, and the Trump administration doesn't want foreign students. I can't explain to you why, but so they're going to make it much more difficult. The first time Trump was president, he actually put into place, his administration did a rule on what's called immigrant intent. And that this idea of having to show that you're going to return back home was much harder during his first 4 years. They haven't changed the rule this time. Biden had changed it back to make it easier to get student visas issued. But again, you need to be prepared to show that you're going to come back home. You need to have a 10-second speech. When I finish this OPT, when I finish this graduate program, I'm coming back to India, and here's what I'm going to do. Here's my plan. You have to be able to articulate it in 10 or 20 seconds. I know that's hard. But if you practice, you can do it. And that's what you need to be prepared to do. So again, many students face issues because they are unprepared for the visa stamp interview. Now, I will mention one thing, Nipasa. There's a good friend of mine who is a former consular officer. And who's done, I don't know, 35,000 interviews at the consulates. She's now a private person. And her website actually offers training to people to prepare them for student visas. So instead of talking to the dude who's outside the embassy for $100, he's going to help you, ignore that dude. He hasn't been inside of an embassy in 30 years. My friend, her name is Judith Freeman, she has a website called visas101.com. Okay, they prepare visitor visa people and student visa people for the interview. And her success rate is astronomical. So again, the thing with lawyers, and hopefully some other lawyer will tell you this, lawyers can't go into the interview. The last time lawyers were let in an interview was 1998. That was the last time I was in an interview at a consulate. We used to be able to go with our clients. I know it's kind of crazy, right? But they don't want lawyers at the interview. So the only people that really know going on the interview are people who are interviewed and consular officers. So why not, talk to a consular officer who's done this 30,000 times and can prepare you? You're about to invest, tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, years of your life in a system. Why don't you get better prepared for that interview? The interview is the key.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that. And it makes sense what you're saying. You should, I think practice makes perfect. And, these are the people you should go to. I think learning it from the best will be always the best. So now moving on to our next question, I see. What should a student do if their visa application gets stuck into 21G administrative processing?
Well, there's not much you can do. First of all, have patience. Understand that most people are going through this process now. And it's not just in India, by the way. It's all over the whole world. But I would, after 2 weeks, because student visas are time sensitive. It's not like somebody's applying for a green card and they can take a year or 2 years on administrative processing. You got to go to school, right? And you got to go to school soon. So I would give them 2 weeks, and then I would send an email to the consulate and say, hey, or do the inquiry and say, look, it's been 2 weeks. My school starts soon, X date. I was wondering if there's a status update. Is there anything else you need from me to help you make a decision? Thank you very much. Respectfully, Mr. Patel. So that's what you can do. You can't do anything else than that. Nipasa, I no longer can hear you for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, so I was saying
I
thank you
can,
so much
yes.
for
You
taking
disappeared
that
there
up.
for a moment.
Somehow I think, yeah, I'm having some internet issues, I guess. But thank you for being so patient. And my next
It must
question
be
for you,
Elon
Charles,
Musk. It's Elon Musk. He's getting all of us. So we got a couple questions here, Nipasa. I'd love to answer before we have to go.
sure. So let's take them up then. Let's take up Alicia's question. Hey, with everything changing so quickly in immigration system, I'm really nervous about my F-1 visa being approved. What are the best things I can do to make sure my application stands out? Any common mistakes I should avoid preparing for my visa interview?
Well, here, the first thing, your application is the same as everybody else's application because you're filling out a form. Right? So the only thing that can differentiate you is your interview. Nothing else can differentiate you. So you need to go into that interview prepared. Remember, you've got at most you have 30 seconds at most. So you have to be able to be articulate, fluent, and get to the three key points that they're looking for. Why you're going to this program in this school, that two, you will be coming back, and what you'll be doing when you come back. Boom. That you need to be able to articulate those things in 10, 20 seconds. If you can do that, I promise you, you will stand out in your interview.
There you go. Thank you for that. I'm sure that must be very useful. And all the best, Alicia, for your interview. Now let's go on to this next one. This is, I think it came from Mr. Vicky, but our I think came to our email or something.
Mr.
And here we
Vicky, it's from Mr.
Yes.
Vicky.
I'm on day one CPT right now, and I'm a little worried that it could cause problems when I go for my visa interview. Do you have any tips on what I should bring with me or how I should explain my CPT?
Well, Mr. Vicky, you are right to be concerned. Day one CPT is viewed by the consulates as fraud. They just think it's fraud. So a lot will depend on which school you are getting day one CPTs from. There's a list of 20 schools that you shouldn't go anywhere near. That immigration will simply deny your visa. They just will. So you need to be cognizant of that. If you're at a legitimate school and it's truly part of your graduate work program, you should be fine. Just say it's part of my program. Here's why this work is relevant to these courses that I'm taking. And again, have a 10 or 20-second explanation about why I'm doing day one CPT and how it is related to my degree and how it's vital to getting this graduate program done. So basically, 10 to 20 seconds. Once again, preparation is necessary for that interview. And again, this is the kind of thing where I would talk to my friend Dudin. I would just say, look, how do I prepare for this? How would you as a consular officer expect me to answer this question? How can you help me frame my answer? There's nothing wrong with preparing. Preparing is how you succeed in life. This is just a microcosm of that.
Okay. There you go, Mr. Vicky, and all the best. I think that's all I can say for now. And Charles, if you got a couple more minutes, then I'll go on with the next questions.
All right.
Let me know whenever we should wrap up, all right?
We're wrapping up soon, my dear.
Okay. So this next one, there's a lot of confusion around day one CPT, just like we were speaking just now. So when is it considered risky or likely to lead to a denial or future issues?
Well, I tell you, I personally hate day one CPT. I know why people get it, obviously, and the government knows why you get it. All right, because you didn't get an H-1B. That's why you're on day one CPT, and the company still wants you to work for them. They view it as an end around. It would not surprise me if the Trump administration ends the program, just says you can't do day one CPT. They haven't done that though. So for now, it's legal. I would just make sure that you're in a legitimate, well-known program. Even ask the program what people that have worked here in this program, have they had visa issues? Can you give me the names of some people who had success in getting visas reissued? Don't be afraid to ask those questions. Again, you're paying them money so you can work. That's what day one CPT is. So just make sure it's legitimate and really is tied to the program. But it is, again, I think it's risky, and always advise against it when possible.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you for that too, Charles. And now, my next question is why are some students facing OPT or STEM OPT denials? Is it something they're doing wrong or are the rules just getting more strict?
The rules are not changing. There's no change in the rules. So I have not seen any OPT denials that were not the fault of the student. I have seen STEM OPT denials that it's the fault of the employer. Okay? That STEM OPT renewals are complicated at the very least. And I know a lot of employers and people just do it themselves, or they rely on the school to do it. And I don't think that's a very wise thing to do. For OPT, I will simply tell you, remember the rules. You have to file 90 days before graduation, up to 30 days after. Never file after. You should be filing on day 90 or day 89, because if there's a problem, you will get it back faster. I have a guy right now who got his I-20 issued for purposes of OPT and then sat on it for 32 days. And he filed it, and they said, denied. You have to file within 30 days. Now, thankfully, he's still within 30 days of graduation, but the denial is not official. So the school can't give him a new I-20. So the way to not get OPT and STEM denials, OPT denials, is to not do dumb things. Follow the rules. Apply. When I asked him, why didn't you file earlier? Oh, blah, 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 school. No, you cannot. These are technical, highly complicated requirements. You have to pay it. If you're a college graduate, you should be paying attention to these things and doing them in a timely fashion.
All right.
Let's do one
But
more
I think,
question here, Nipasa, and then I've got
yeah,
to run.
I think this will be, yeah, this will be my last, Charles. And thank you so much for joining us already.
Always my
You
pleasure.
know, it's always good to have you. So, before we leave, what final advice would you give to current or incoming international students, to avoid these visa nightmares altogether?
Three things: prepare, prepare, prepare. That's how you avoid it. Maybe add a fourth one: obey the rules once you're here. You go to studyinthestates.dhs.gov. Read it. This is what controls your life in America. So it's really, really important that you know what those rules are. If you think it, I've never seen that before, then you're just lucky. So prepare, and then for the visa interviews, again, prepare. Visas101.com is a great way to do that. Uh, General immigration lawyers, we haven't been inside an interview in almost 30 years. Don't ask us. Ask former consular officers. But the key is your elevator speech. Know why you're going, to where you're going. Know that you're coming back home and why you're coming back home, and be able to explain that quickly. You do that, you're going to get a visa issued. And good luck to you.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us, and especially you, Charles. Thank you so much once again
Always my
for,
pleasure.
joining us here on Immigration Talk Show. Lovely having you. See you
See you soon.
soon, and have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye. And folks, you can check out Attorney Charles Kuck, and you can visit. Get the contact details on this website that is there here on the screen. You can check out the link. And yes, thank you so much for joining us, I would say. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. And you can also email me in case you have more questions or you want them to be directed to our attorneys. Then email me at nipa@staffingly.com, or you can join me or call me, WhatsApp me on my number. My number is 408-335-6444. This is it for now, but stay tuned on Immigration Talk Show because there's so much more lined up. And yes, have a wonderful day ahead. Bye for now.